Hello and welcome. My name is Drew Jackson. I'm the managing partner at Success Fort Worth, Fort Worth's trusted coaching firm. We have a great interview in store for you today, but first let me share a quote and a quick interesting article, and then we'll jump into the interview. The quote that I want to share with you today is by Jim Stewart. It says this: "To achieve a goal you've never achieved before, you must start doing things you have never done before." All right, I want to share an article with you out of Forbes, January 2019, and this little excerpt of this article really stuck out to me, and in regards to what we're going to be talking about today in our interview. And it says this: it says, "Many business leaders are turning away from the traditional stereotypical mindset of hard-charging, aggressive, workaholic business person and seeking a softer, calmer, gentler, and more generous or peaceful approach of mindfulness." And then this article goes on to say that the reason why business leaders are moving in that direction is because they find that their team members make better decisions, they manage their time better, and they're more creative. And so I get asked this all the time about time management and decision making, and what can I do as a trainer to help their people make better decisions and manage their time better. Who would have known that the guy we're going to be talking to today actually in what he does just that. So I thought that was fascinating, and I'm going to introduce Michael Wilson, who we're interviewing today. Michael is a 7-time entrepreneur. He started out his journey running businesses at the age of 18 years old for his family tax preparation business. He comes from a long line of entrepreneurs in his family, including his father. Michael took what he learned in his family business and started his own tax preparation business, which grew to 3 locations and 20 employees before he decided to sell the company. And after selling his first business, Michael went on to start 6 other businesses, including his current venture, which is Processology, which is what we're going to talk about today. And it's the company that we trust at Success Fort Worth to handle our business operations strategy and processes design. And so Processology helps businesses operate better, faster, and cheaper. I mean, who doesn't want that, right? And so I have Michael here today, and he's going to tell us the what, why, and how Processology helps businesses operate a peaceful and profitable organization. Michael, welcome to the interview today.
Hey, Drew. Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm super excited about this.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, I gave kind of your bio, but just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, Drew, as you mentioned, I come from a family of entrepreneurs, so naturally I got that entrepreneur bug early on. After starting 6 businesses throughout my 20s, I started, really seeing that I had a true passion and gift for solving problems. I love being creative and finding solutions to challenges. Looking back, I believe this is why I kept starting all these businesses, right? 6, 7 businesses in my 20s. I had to create more challenges to solve.
Right? Glutton for punishment is what I call it.
Exactly. But on the other side of entrepreneurship, I started to feel like my businesses were taking over my life. I was working long hours every day that I'm sure you and most of the other entrepreneurs have done as well. But I wasn't really living life. So my mindset at the time was very much focused on the future. I felt forced to put a lot of my desires to the side. So needless to say, there weren't many of those trips to the islands.
So, like we were talking about before the podcast, right?
Exactly.
Before the interview.
Exactly. So really just trying to build a foundation. In life, I feel like the vision I had for myself, that was really my focus in my 20s. But after separating from my wife, I really started looking at life much differently. Started looking at entrepreneurship much differently. And really started thinking, I must be crazy to keep doing this so many times, right? But I felt there had to be a better way. So like most entrepreneurs, like most entrepreneurs, I had my share of successes and failures. And what I like to call opportunities for learning.
Yeah, right.
So,
yeah, it's you definitely are a outside of the box thinker. I know that we've had times where we've been hanging out and kind of trying to think through some challenges, and you are aware of what's out there and the solutions that are available, and I've really appreciated that about you in our consultation meetings.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, tell me what made you decide. I mean, I maybe I answered the question. I know you're good at it, but what made you decide to become a process consultant?
Well, that just kind of happened.
Okay.
Anyone that knows me knows that I'm all about the whole entrepreneurship thing. So naturally, people started asking me for help with their businesses.
Yeah.
And so I love problem solving so much. I started helping them out, and I got to this point where I started enjoying consulting more than I was enjoying the businesses that I owned. So it kind of just, after started really looking into that and seeing where my passions were, I decided that was the path I wanted to be on. I felt most helpful and the most fulfilled helping people with their businesses. So it's definitely something that I love doing.
That's great. And like we said, you came from a family of business owners, so that's something that you've been around your entire life and been a part of. You know, when we talk about processes, I remember the first time that processes were explained to me in that business context. And the light bulb moment came for me when it was shared with me that we have a process for everything. You know, you have a process for, and I think they're kind of putting the cookies on the bottom shelf for me. You know, they're kind of simplifying it for me. But the idea that, you know, we have a process for how we brush our teeth. We have a process for how we wake up in the morning. Yes. We have a process for how you put the toilet paper on the roller. Now, prior to this conversation, I just put it on however I pulled it out of the package, you know. But the person I was talking to and was sharing this with me, they said that there is a more efficient way to put the toilet paper. It has to come down from the top, and it's more efficient. Who would have known, right? I guess half the world knows that. But it's more efficient that way, and the reality is that just like with toilet paper, and I put it on that way. I just want to confess to everybody listening right now, I do put the toilet paper on the right way now. My wife says it's the right way.
Well, if she says it.
I know. If she says it, then, you know. But there is a more efficient way to do things, right? Like there's always a more efficient way. You have your way, but there may be a more efficient way. I don't know. What do you think about that? Tell us about Processology and kind of your reasons for starting the company.
Yeah, definitely. So in regards to processes, there are definitely more efficient ways to do things, right? If one little thing changes in your morning, that can throw your entire day off, right? So
I heard one guy say that if he doesn't floss his teeth in the morning, he's going to lose his job and be put in jail for speeding, because, you know, it's just he has his routine. Now I don't know, that sounds a little extreme, but you know,
hey, when you get used to it, right? You want it to be predictable,
right?
But yeah, definitely. So one of the things that we look at as Processology in regards to processes is that there's really three options. So one is that you can continue to do things the way you're doing them now, and you will continue to get the same result, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you want change, you have to create change. And then the other option is more of you can try to do it yourself, and, you know, go on YouTube, watch all the videos, and try to put all this stuff together, right? and really, you know, piece it together, which is surprisingly what a lot of businesses do, especially when they're starting up, and they just kind of stitch it together.
Yeah.
I was actually having a conversation with someone yesterday, and I said, imagine if you saw a picture of your business. It would just be a bunch of random pieces stitched together, right?
Wow.
And so you see a lot of businesses where they're trying to buy these how-to kits and do-it-yourself things like that. Now, you can also bring in an expert that can help you evaluate and put things and tools in place that will enable you to run your business better, faster, and cheaper.
That's good.
That's the folks that choose that option are the folks that we can help, the folks that we want to help. So Processology, you asked, you know, why did I start Process? So at our core, Processology is a process creation, improvement, and automation agency. We use the power of creative thinking to help our clients run a peaceful and profitable organization. In my many years of entrepreneurship, I've learned that businesses they don't care about your quality of life, right? Like it's a business, right? It doesn't think about your quality of life. It wants to survive.
Yeah.
And if that means requiring you and your team to work more, then so be it. If that means the business is going to run inefficiently, it will run inefficiently. It just wants to run, right? So think about it like trying to drive a car with a flat tire.
Okay.
Right. So if you're driving a car with a flat tire and you're trying to get to your destination, you're going to burn more fuel, more resources, right? And it's going to take you a lot longer to get to where you want to go.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So a lot of people out here are running their businesses with flat tires.
Okay.
Right? So we want to help you put the right processes in place to operate better, faster, and cheaper, because that's going to improve the quality of life for everyone involved. That's your stakeholders, your employees, your vendors, and anyone else that's going to be involved in the business itself.
That's good. That's interesting. Now, if you could kind of break down for us, when you say process creation, improvement, automation, kind of school us on that. What does that mean? Can you break that down a little bit for us?
Yeah, sure thing. So I'm talking about your core processes.
Okay.
The way you attract new clients, the way those clients travel through your sales process. Right? How do you service those clients? How do you measure their mood, if they're happy, if they're sad, or what's going on with that client? Right, that's important stuff to understand. How are you onboarding new employees? How are you approving transactions in accounting? Right, all of these things have to go through a process. And if those processes have too many variables, then they become unpredictable, and unpredictable is not good. Right, so all of these things are processes that we have to strategically plan. But there are a lot of companies out there that are not doing any of that. So the way that we help clients is by defining their mission, right? So what is the goal of this process? That's super important, because otherwise you're basically just throwing a dart in the dark, right? You don't know where you're going. You have no target. The next thing is really researching and extracting what are the requirements for this process, right? What do we need? Maybe there are legal things that you need to consider. Maybe it's limitations in the software you have. So you really have to figure out, okay, this is what we want to do. What do we have to work with? What do we need? So that's where the research is going to come into play.
Okay.
The next thing is designing that process. So we want to design that process to where it is going to allow you to operate efficiently. Right, and so we do that using our formulas, systems, and automation.
Okay.
And then you want to build that process and test it. That's so important to test it, right? You build a process, and in theory, it sounds perfect, and then you press play, and things don't work out. Right. So it's definitely important to test it before you go live. And then one of the important things that we do at Processology that we feel is missed, even in larger companies, is documenting processes. I mean, that documentation is so important because it is the procedures the steps that need to be taken in order to execute a process, and that's valuable when it comes to training and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. The manual, so to speak.
Exactly.
And then you're not, as an employer, so much of our resources are wasted when we have turnover. It's one of the biggest areas is turnover, and part of the reason for that is that we don't document and we don't write down. This is not the sexy part of business, right?
It's definitely not sexy.
This is about as mundane and process oriented as you can get. But when you have a procedure for how things get done, and how a phone call is made, and how a deposit is made, and how you do everything, now you can plug somebody else in there with the least amount of pain and the least amount of slowdown. So you actually write those up for companies if they don't have them themselves, right? You can help them do that. Wow, that's great. That's huge. That's a very big deal for the business that wants to kind of move from the startup phase into full-blown business, where the business owner doesn't have to be kind of manning the ship day in, day out.
And it is very important. And an example I use with someone I was talking to about a week ago was, it's just like when you spread a message, right? You tell somebody, and then they tell someone else, and they tell someone else, and that message changes just a little bit every time someone tells the next person.
A little telephone.
Same thing with your processes. Your employee would do it one way, the next employee is going to do it a little bit different, the next one's going to do a little different. So if they don't have any procedures to follow, then you end up with unpredictable processes.
That's good.
And that's a hard way to run your business.
That's really good, man.
Right? Because if there's too much variation, how do you measure that? Right. So So that's definitely an important part. And then obviously we want to get that implemented. We want to evaluate to make sure that it's working the way that it's designed. And then the biggest part I would say is maintaining that process, because what happens is you don't want rollbacks. Well, that process rollbacks into an inefficient state.
Yeah.
So you want to have a plan in place to how do we go back and make sure our employees are following those procedures. What are we using to track that? So that's something that's important.
So do you help people with that? Do you
Yes.
help? Okay.
So we help them put a plan in place, things that they need to be looking at to make sure that that process stays efficient.
Yeah.
Including going back, we may go every 6 months, every year, depending on the client's needs, and kind of do more of a assessment or analysis, if you can say, to make sure that that process is still running within the parameters that we set.
Okay. Fantastic. That's great. That's a ton. Tell me why did you start Processology? And is this something you're passionate about, or is this something that you just kind of do, or just tell me about that.
Yeah, so after thinking really hard about where I want it to be in my life right now, not in the future, but today, right? Tomorrow's not promised, right? So I really started looking at that in my past, and I took what I was great at and applied that to a solution to help business owners.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to create a solution that helped business owners do whatever it is that vision, right? We all have this vision when we take this risk of starting a business of when this business is successful, or when it hits this revenue goal, I'm going to be able to do this, right? Maybe it's take the trip, maybe it's buy the fancy car, who knows, right? Buy the big house, whatever it may be. So it was trying to help entrepreneurs get that without sacrificing everything else, right? As well as their team, right? Their stakeholders, the people that are in their team. Like, if you have employees that are overworked, like we're in work more than we're at home with our families, right? Yeah. So if that quality is not where it needs to be, then obviously that doesn't yield a great lifestyle. Yeah. So for me, I took what was born more out of my frustrations, pains, and desires, and created Processology to make sure people don't have to go through what I felt I was living through.
Yeah.
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 So fun fact about me. So in high school, I wanted to be an architect.
Yeah.
And so architects have the ability to take an idea, right? And they create a design that achieves the desired vision of whoever wanted the house, the dream house, whatever that may be. So basically what I did is I found architecture in business, right?
I like it.
I find my clients and I say, okay, what's your vision? And let's create a process that is going to help you realize that vision. Yeah. Right?
I think that's huge, because you're not changing people's mission, you're not changing people's vision, you're helping them execute at a more efficiently, better, faster, cheaper. You're helping them execute. We'll get more into the details of that, of how you go about doing that, but you really help them execute on what it is that they want to do as a business. Clarify some of that, sharpen it up, and then really execute. And what tools are out there that can help them execute more efficiently and without having to add on 10 more staff members.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all about helping you figure out, first of all, define the mission, right? That's so important. Is figuring out what do you want to do, and then what's going to be the most efficient way to get there. And I was having a conversation, it might even be you that I had the conversation about the GPS and about how it starts from the destination and it calculates backwards so that it can take into account everything that you're going to run into on the way, right? So it can create a predictable path for you to follow. Yeah. And essentially that's what we're doing at Processology. We're saying, okay, this is where you want to be. Yeah. All right, let's create that predictable path for you to follow, right?
That's so good.
If you want to close $100,000 a month in revenue, okay, what does that look like? What does that process look like? Yeah. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. So speaking of mission, what's kind of your mission, vision, purpose in this phase of your business and life?
Yeah, so our mission is to help people that support organizations live a better life, right? It's pretty simple. And we do that we believe everyone should have a freedom first mindset. Okay. And no one should ever have to be a slave to their career voluntarily or involuntarily. Right? Yeah. So we want the workplace to be a happy place, right? Yeah. Peaceful place. Yeah. Right. And so we do this by helping organizations create, fix, and automate core processes, right? It's very simple. If we can change the way that you do things, then that's going to develop solutions where everyone wins. Yeah. And that's really what we're looking for. So improve quality of life, build a profitable business, have happier employees, and happier clients.
That's good. I was actually talking to a bank president recently, and he was saying, I want happy employees because they're going to make happy clients.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what you just said. Well, I got to ask you about something. I got to ask you about that peace line, because it's not a word you normally hear in business circles. It's a little bit it's different. I know I mentioned it in that Forbes article,
right,
at the intro, but what do you mean by peace? Why is that so important to you?
Well, for me, I mean, that's what we want out of life, right? We want to be peaceful, and today people are so stressed out. People are stressed out more than ever, and jobs are not as secure as they used to be, right? You can have a job today and no job tomorrow, and life can change at a drop of a dime, right?
Yeah.
So I think the thing that we really need to think about is what I think businesses need to think about is that people today can go and create a YouTube channel and make millions, right?
Yeah.
Right. So corporate world or businesses have huge competition when it comes to that.
The gig culture that we have.
So I can look at, okay, I can from the comfort of my home with my family make a YouTube channel and make millions, right? So why would I ever go to work? Why would I choose that, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that it's important for us as business owners to make sure that we are providing a environment for our employees to where they are happy, where they're creative, where they feel like they're valued. And we can't do that if we're overworking them.
Yeah.
Right? We can't do that if we're running a business that's not profitable, because we can't stay in business, right?
Yeah, and so what you're saying is through the processes that you can create, some of those, not some of those, but all of those repetitive tasks that may be energy draining and not allowing them really to use their creativity can be automated, and which in turn is going to save the company money. It's also going to create an environment where your people can use their energies on things that only they can do.
Yeah.
I was listening to something the other day, and actually the CEO of LinkedIn was referencing Elon Musk, and they were actually scaling back on some of the automated stuff with their making of the cars, and they said it turns out in some roles people are better.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
But it's finding those roles, right? It's finding those things where you want your people to be at their best.
Absolutely.
And eliminating, it's kind of the 80-20 rule, you know? What are those things that your people on your team can do really well? And then what are the things we can get off their plate, automate?
Absolutely.
We have all this stuff available to us. I don't know it. I don't know the details of what all is out there, but you do. And that's what you can help people strategize and figure out and get more efficient in that way. Something you said about the peace thing did resonate with me, because I do communication training, behavioral human behavior training, and in some of the assessments I have, it talks about there's a certain behavior style or personality type that it's actually 69% of the population, and they are looking for a peaceful and harmonious work environment. And I have people very dear to me in my life that have changed jobs because of the chaos or the drama or the lack of peace in that work environment. So you're swaying me, Michael. You're swaying me on the peace thing. I'm grabbing hold of it. The Forbes article. I'm starting to get it now that this might not be a high value for that internally driven entrepreneur that's out there that just wants to go out and grind every day and get after it, but they want probably the person they're married to, their
That's
family,
what I was going to say.
and the rest of their team. They probably want that. And so being able to step back and say, hey, I might be okay with working 18 hours a day, but that doesn't mean that it is okay.
Exactly. So I've obviously had the pleasure of working with you on some projects, and so I know that you're a driven entrepreneur as well, including myself, and we have this tendency to really get sucked into what we're passionate about and what we want to do, right? And so it's where that piece comes in, is really giving yourself the permission and the gift of that freedom, right? So that you can spend time with your family, because our spouses didn't necessarily say, I want to be an entrepreneur. Our kids didn't say they want to be entrepreneurs, but yet they are affected by the choices that we make in our business. And if we have a business that takes over our life, then that means that now we're not spending time with them. So I think that's important parts. And even outside of ourselves, if we're creating that environment for our employees, then they're not spending time with their families.
Yeah.
Right? And most of us do this. That vision that we had, our families are part of that vision, right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely important to make sure those are things that we're considering. And I think what makes Processology, what makes Processology different is that when we do process design, it's not just about efficiency only. It's also about, okay, how is this process going to affect the people involved?
Yeah.
Right? And one of the things that that article that you were talking about with Elon Musk, I did see that myself. And really the big thing was that if a car moved over just a little bit, the problem was that now the robot, they have to do all these complicated calculations to get that automated robot to make that weld, right?
Yeah.
Where they could just get a person that he can just say, oh, well, the car's over 1 inch. Okay, let's just move over 1 inch.
Yeah.
Right? So absolutely, in some places, automation is not a fit.
That's good.
So you have to really know how to identify those areas where what I like to call man versus machine, right? Which one are you going to put in place there? So yeah.
That's good. That's fantastic. Well, let's kind of wrap this up, and let me ask you, who is this for? Who would benefit from your services? Who is the type of person that you work with and you're able to really help?
Definitely, and this is a question we get a lot. So as far as geographical area, we work with clients all over the world, so that is not a problem.
Okay.
Industries don't really affect us. We have no really boundaries when it comes to things like that. So we can work with pretty much anyone, and really the one thing that I believe is important to mention is that our solution does not change your mission. You actually mentioned this for me earlier on, right? We merely shine a light on the most efficient path so that your organization can realize its mission peacefully and profitably. So in other words, we don't change what you do, right? You're already great at that.
Yeah.
What we do is change how you do it to ensure that you work the most efficient way possible.
It's good. It's getting the toilet paper coming down.
Exactly.
Come on, top down.
Right? And so, and that answers another question. So, if you're running an organization that could benefit from processes that have a clear, strategically thought out mission, right? If your organization could use help identifying inefficiencies, right? A lot of organizations don't even realize they're running inefficiently, right? So that's important. Then we are going to be a good fit for that.
Yeah.
So other areas we can help is in our ability to create simple yet powerful, predictable, and measurable solutions. That stuff's so important. We want to be able to predict the outcomes. We want to be able to measure, right? Because that's, if you're spending a lot of money on marketing, right, what's working, what's not. Right?
Oh, I've had business owners I've talked to, and they're spending upwards of $1,000 a month on Google AdWords, I'll just say it, on Google AdWords, and I'm saying, okay, so what kind of return are you getting on that? Well, not much. I don't think so. Well, then why are you still doing it? It's like you've been doing this for a year. If you aren't seeing a result on that, then modify, change the strategy.
Well, I've seen people that do the same thing, and then they're like, oh, well, I was told that I need to do this for 3 to 6 months before I can see actually any results.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's $6,000-$7,000 you're pouring in, and you really don't know where it's going, right?
Yeah.
So, it could be a situation where maybe they're coming to your site, but
and it could, where is the disconnect? It could be that you've got everything in place with the words and all that kind of stuff, but there's something that's dropping the ball, and if you don't have someone helping you kind of look at that and figure it out, then you don't know where the disconnect is, and you're just kind of shooting in the dark, kind of like we talked about. You're doing YouTube videos, and you're making it a side hobby, trying to figure out what's the problem.
Exactly, and I'll give a quick example really quick because I think it helps actually explain this a little clearer. I was talking with a company where they basically require their sales team to make about 200 calls a day.
Whoa.
Right? Now, me, I don't like to make 10 calls a day, right? So I'm like, 200 calls a day, that is insane, right? So what I talked to them about is lead scoring. Why don't we put some stuff in here to score these people?
Yeah.
And only have your sales team calling the people that meet, within 80% or higher versus calling people that may not fit in this at all.
Yeah.
Right? So doing that, we're saving time. We're not wasting resources. We're not, spending money on hours for employees to be here that we don't need to. Right? There's just a lot of cost.
Probably happier employees.
Right. And the beautiful things is we can automate all this to where it's doing that for you. And all you need to do is make 10, 15, 20 calls, whatever that may be a day. But they're 20 or 20, 30, 40, 50 qualified calls.
Yeah, a greater return on investment.
Gotta get a greater return on investment. Absolutely.
That's fantastic. That's great. Well, it sounds like Processology is really on a mission to not only better the way that you operate, but to also better the way that people think, and kind of think about their people.
Absolutely.
I was thinking about this earlier. It takes the son of an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
to really think about that holistic view, because you've been on every side of it.
Yes,
You've been on every side of it. So I believe that's all important. Those are great outcomes to have. They not only produce the profits, but also the peace that you were talking about, that lifestyle, and take some of that strain off the people that are supporting the entrepreneur, the business owner, and still getting the results, because we got to have the results. I mean, at the end of the day, if we aren't making sales, we aren't in business, right?
Absolutely.
So it's got to hit the bottom line in producing that peaceful and profitable organization. That's fantastic, man. Well, tell us, do you have any closing thoughts before we call it a day today?
Yeah, definitely. So we actually just put out a really good blog post that I would recommend everyone that's listening to go to our website and check out at processology.net.
Processology.net. Okay, I'll make sure I have that available to everybody wherever we put this.
Definitely. Check out the blog post. It really breaks down the 5 things that you really need to consider in any process. And that's really what is your strategy, right? What is your mission? We go through the process, the tasks that are involved, and the systems that you're going to need in order to support that. And I think this is really, these are steps that people miss, right? They just say, I want to do A, okay, I'm going to do B to do it. And they never really think that process out. And they're just such important steps. A major thing that I see is people go straight to the software. And they go and they sign up for these softwares and they pay these subscriptions. And I've even worked with clients that are paying crazy amounts for software. And what I think a lot of people don't realize is softwares are meant to support your process, right? It's not pick the software, then the process. Pick the process, and then find a software that supports it.
That's good.
So those are some things that I really think are important. There's definitely a lot of other amazing things on our blog as well that'll help people along their path.
That's fantastic. That's great. Thank you so much, Michael, for allowing me to interview you today. I'm Drew with Success Fort Worth. This was Michael with Processology. Thank you so much for listening. We hope we added value to you today. And if you are looking for a coach, you're looking to increase your success in your business or as a leader, then check us out, successfortworth.com, and we would love to help you. Talk to you soon.